This August, I decided it was time to learn to knit socks. Summer was hot, the zinnias were happy, and I was excited to take on something brand new, an adventure I'd never tried before. I decided to take this project with me while I traveled. My Nana passed away, and I would be on a plane for quite a long time to go to her funeral. I used a tutorial from a crazy sock lady, and I'll link it down below so you can find the same one. But first I needed to cake up my beautiful yarn from the Crochet Cove. These are my favorite colors, so I thought it would be a very comforting project to take with me. If you were looking for a yarn swift, like the one I'm using here, I do not recommend the one that I am using. It has not served me well. It has been a frustration and a pain, and I am currently looking to replace it. So I will not link this one below because it's obnoxious. I absolutely love these little scissors. My mom picked them up for me from Magnago, Italy. For those of you who don't know, I spent the majority of my childhood in a small village in Italy, and I love it when my mom brings me mementos from the surrounding villages and from the places that I grew up. I'm currently using the Knit Picks yarn winder. I haven't had any issues with it. I find it works very well for 100 grams of yarn at a time. I know some people have not had as much success with it as I have, and I've heard the Stanwood one highly recommended. But if you're just starting out and you need a budget-friendly yarn winder, I think the Knit Pick ones is a good one to start with. Since I planned to knit my socks 2 at a time, I needed to divide my 100 grams of yarn into 2 50-gram balls. I saw a tutorial that taught me how to do this. I believe it's from the Crazy Sock Lady tutorial. You simply place your cake of yarn on your scale and then wind up from it until your scale shows 50 grams. And then you'll have 2 even grams of yarn, balls of yarn that are the same amount. You know what I mean. The cake of yarn that I wound from is very floppy and squishy at this point, so I'm going to put it back through my winder so it's a nice tight little cake and it won't tangle as easily as I work from it. I then realized that I did not possess the right size needles to make a pair of socks, so I went to my local yarn shop, which is in Ashland, Virginia, center of the Yarniverse, and the ladies there have been so helpful as I learned to make socks. I picked out a pair of wood needles, the Like brand or Likey brand. I should learn to pronounce that. They were beautiful, beautiful knitting needles, and they were a wooden material instead of metal. I thought that might be better since I was planning to take this project on the airplane. A bit of foreshadowing here. I was able to take my knitting on the plane. I would also have been able to take metal needles, and the wood needles later proved to have been a mistake. The tutorial that I followed had you make each cuff separately, and when you finished the first cuff, you were to transfer it to another set of needles. The smallest pair of needles that I had at this time, I think, were a size 4. I want to say a size 4. So they were much bigger than what I was using for this project, but they did hold my cuff while I worked up the other cuff on my needles. And then I put both cuffs back onto my needles so I could work my socks 2 at a time. I did not remember to video this project throughout the time that I made it. I took it with me on the plane. I kept it in my backpack that I use as a purse. I took it out and worked on it anytime I had waiting. Like whether I was waiting at the doctor's office or while I was listening to sermons in church. I always had this project with me and just put a few rows on here and there. At one point, I broke my wooden needles and went back to the yarn shop and picked up metal needles, and I got some advice from the ladies at the shop. They pointed out that the wooden needles had contributed to my stitches being very large, and that with socks you needed really tiny stitches. And I found that the slipperiness of the metal needles improved my tension immensely. So if you're going to start knitting socks, start on the metal needles. Just skip the wooden needles. Just skip them entirely and use the metal needles because it was so much easier to work with than the wooden ones. I did not, of course, start over when I realized that I had made the majority of my socks at the wrong tension. I also did not do a gauge swatch because I thought they were socks. Like, how hard can it be? Anyway, so I just continued. So the foot part of my sock is very fitted, and all the way from the cuff past the heel was very loose stitching. Finally, the last step was to Kitchener up the toe with a Kitchener stitch. I think that's a very interesting name. It's funny how it feels in my mouth to say Kitchener, and I feel like I could say that over and over again and laugh a lot. It was so much easier than I anticipated. I had a quick tutorial from one of the ladies at the knitting shop, and it went very smoothly. The fit on my socks is not ideal. The foot length is a little bit shorter than it should be. The heel is too loose and they are super slouchy. But I absolutely love them and I'm so proud of myself. Socks have been on my to make list for such a long time. And I am a crocheter. This is the first thing I have knitted to completion. And I have to say, it's made me super happy. I hope you'll come back next week after you like this video and subscribe to my channel, and next week I will show you what I'm making for Christmas this year for my family.